You're about to enjoy a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Lead-In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights despite their sometimes rocky paths and found a way to lead in. Today, we are here with San Diego County Sheriff, Undersheriff, Kelly Martinez, and it's such a pleasure to have you here today with us. But we would like to know, how did you get to be, I believe, the first woman to ever serve as Undersheriff for the San Diego County Sheriff? And I would say that it's probably one of the largest departments in the entire country.
Yeah, we're definitely up there. Good morning, or hi, Rebecca. Thanks so much for having me today. I am the first woman in this role, which is interesting. We began as a department in 1850, back when it was literally cowboys and Indians in San Diego County. So the sheriff was just sort of what you probably saw in the movies in the old days. We're now about 4,400 personnel strong. We have almost $1 billion budget. And my career started back in 1985. I was a little over 21 years old, and I had been a waitress up until that point, and someone I knew recommended that I try law enforcement. And so, not knowing much about it other than my dad was a police officer, but you don't always know what your parents really do for a living. So I applied, I got the job, and I spent 22 years as a deputy. I promoted to sergeant and worked San Marcos actually patrol as a brand new sergeant, did that for about a year. Went back to my roots as a deputy. I worked the criminal intelligence detail for about 10 years, and I did that as a sergeant after a year in patrol. And fast forward, I promoted to lieutenant and captain and ultimately commander, assistant sheriff. And then about 4 weeks ago was promoted to undersheriff. So.
What an exciting journey. This is definitely not a path where it's predominantly a woman's career. So we'll talk a little bit about that later, but I want you to share something personal with us, something about your childhood, a story that maybe no one knows about you, just to kind of bring you to a level that everyone can relate to. So what do you think? Which childhood story would you like to share with us today?
Well, you know, I'm one of 6 kids, and my siblings would probably tell you I was the most naive of the 6 kids, which isn't something that I think people would think of me now. But my older brother and sister could talk me into almost anything. And my sister and I were the only ones in the family. Everyone was blonde and blue-eyed, but we both had, brown hair and brown eyes. So she convinced me one day we were adopted and we needed to run away because we didn't belong to this family. So we did. I don't think we got very far or stayed gone very long, but yeah, I was pretty easy to convince of almost anything when I was young.
So our undersheriff is a runaway. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing. That is hilarious. Oh my gosh. So what one word do you think describes you? Or is there not one word? I always look at myself and I think, well, there's a few words, but just one word that you might think that describes who you are.
I think most people think I'm pretty authentic. I really try to come from a place of honesty. And I try to be honest with myself and honest with people who I work with and who are in my life who are important to me. So
that's a wonderful quality. I think authenticity is often overlooked, but it's a great leadership quality because I think you can reach more people the more honest you are and the more authentic you are, because I think everyone can relate to that, whether you are a different political party, whether you are someone that has had issues with the law. I think authenticity is something that resonates across the board. Everyone can agree that we all want leaders that are, being honest with us and telling us like it is. But also, being real and, even just sharing something from their childhood, that's just a fun story. I really appreciate that. How do you measure success? Is that something that is how many arrests are made within the department, or how does that look to you?
There's obviously different successes, different areas of our lives, but for the department, I think we've been hugely successful in keeping our community safe, and that's really important to me. We have, of the 12 top safest cities in our jurisdiction in the San Diego region, 10 of those are patrolled by sheriff's deputies, which really makes me proud. So that's a huge marker of success for the department. For me personally, success is measured by my family and how satisfied they are in their lives, and my friends, and those bonds that you bring with each other. So.
Well, that kind of brings me to another question, and that is, how do you balance those two things, your profession and then also your family life? I mean, there's a lot of responsibilities that face us every day, and I think now those connections and those relationships are more than ever important because all that's going on in this crazy world. So what do you think? How do you balance those things?
Honestly, I don't think I do. Like many people in leadership roles, and with you're so committed to doing everything well that you sometimes lose sight of some of those things that are important. I have a running commitment with my son every Sunday. We spend quality time together, riding bikes and having lunch or doing some other activity it's really important. I don't ever change that. That's a set time when we spend time together. With my husband, I try to understand and remember every night that when I go home, it's not about me talking about my day or shutting myself off to have some alone time. I need to commit time to him. So it is hard to balance that. And the biggest balance is just self-care and taking care of ourselves and carving out time every day. And that's not always easy.
That's for sure. And, I think now, too, it's easy to say, but I just have that one last thing.
Yeah.
I have a difficult time shutting off, too. But I've been trying to be far more intentional about getting my exercise because I think that always makes me get in a better headspace. So are there any things that you have in your career path that you failed at that really maybe led you to succeeding further, or is there nothing that really stands out in your mind about that?
Not really. I think staying a deputy for 22 years, I probably could have tried promoting sooner. I really just enjoyed that job and didn't. I never envisioned myself in a role of this level. So I just was just enjoying myself in my career without any real ambition towards anything greater.
Well, so as a female leader, that is definitely not generally something that happens within law enforcement, I think, generally. I mean, there definitely have been some leaders that are women, but not predominantly. I think it definitely is has been a man's leadership. So I guess my question would be, what is the biggest barrier of your career, and have you had resistance with men in your leadership?
That's a tough one because law enforcement's changed a lot. When I came on, certainly women were not. There were departments that had no women, and they were fairly proud of that fact. I think right now, as the statistic I read last week, I think was there's only 3% of police leadership or executive level leadership that are female. So it's pretty low on a national standard. I think the biggest barrier I had, like I kind of alluded to before, was my own limitations I put on myself and how I viewed my role in the department. I think now women have an expectation that they will move forward. And I think that a lot of the women that came before me have certainly laid that groundwork. So I'm encouraged by that. I think a lot of women now have an expectation that they'll be able to do whatever they want to do. So that's great.
Well, I love that because that is also, you sharing that you didn't. I mean, honestly, I never saw myself doing what I do either. And, it's one of those things. I feel like if your path leads there, well, then, you need to work hard to get there. So have there been any role models or mentors that have really influenced you to get you to where you're at today?
Well, I think my first role model, and always the one that's in my heart, is my dad. He always had a great sense of humor and a really strong work ethic, which he instilled on me and all of my brothers and sisters. So he's certainly the first one and the one I think of the most. Former Undersheriff Barnett was a strong role model for me. I worked for him for about 25 years in all different capacities, and he certainly encouraged me and gave me a lot of the foundation I've got today. Current Sheriff Gore has been a terrific role model and continues to be today. So as far as women, I had Debbie Hanlon, was a former, she retired as a commander on a department. She certainly encouraged me in a lot of my investigative work and moving forward and got me to those first jobs and those first promotions. And she was always the first one to call me when I promoted, and that was always great.
So of all the lessons that you've learned, are there any that really stand out that you'd like to share with young women that they could also apply in their lives?
Yeah, certainly. I think something we forget to tell young women is protect your reputation. Be careful of the things you do early in your career, because sometimes those will sit with you a long time past. You want them to never say no to opportunities. I think sometimes we don't see ourselves in a role and we think, no, that's not what I want to do. But a lot of times those opportunities will lead to the next thing, and you'll build relationships and networks in those jobs that maybe you didn't think you wanted. That will help you and serve you well later in your career. Always work hard. Be kind, lead with kindness. Always believe the best of other people. Don't assume they're coming from a bad place until they prove they are. But generally,
that's a really good thing for law enforcement too, to have that that mindset. I think that may be rare, but I really like that. I think back to authenticity. I think you're very authentic, and I really like that you shared that with us. I'm sorry, were you going to say something else? Because I feel like I interrupted, but I really wanted to say I think that's really important.
I appreciate that. I don't think you can be in law enforcement unless you truly like people, and I really do like people, and I think you can't have this kind of longevity and still have a good attitude and be positive and optimistic about the community unless you do like people. So.
Yeah. And, your reputation, I love that you shared that too, because I think that's even evolved a lot and changed, because the young women that are out there right now, or everyone listening, I think a lot of people don't understand what social media is now doing to our relationships and our reputations, because there are so many things that we're sharing on social media that really do put us in a negative light that we need to think about long term if that's the reputation that we really would like to have. And so thanks for sharing that, because that is definitely something we need to always be thinking about. Definitely. So what are you most passionate about and proud in the journey that you've led? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm proud of the job I've done. I'm really proud of the fact that I've worked the variety of positions I have, that I've built a reputation on the department of integrity and experience. I think that goes a long way in my leadership. I'm proud of the collaboration that I've been able to bring to the work that I do. I think it's important. So just having that strong work ethic, I think, goes a long way.
So young women that are possibly thinking about law enforcement, what are some of the things that you would tell them? And, well, first, let me just ask you that. So what are the things that you would tell them if they're thinking and considering a career in law enforcement?
That it may be different than they perceive it to be, and that they should sit down and seriously have a discussion with someone who's in law enforcement, and in particular, a female that's in law enforcement, and make sure that it's what they want to do. I think a lot of people are scared away from law enforcement right now, particularly with the political climate where it's at. I don't think they should be. I think they should understand that it's a challenging job, but it's a very rewarding job. There's a lot that you can get from it. It's a very well-paying job with benefits. You can certainly raise a family while you're doing this job, and it's something to be proud of. So.
Well, definitely. And, I think one of the things when people think about quality of life, I think a big part of that is feeling safe and making sure that, you're doing the best for your community. And I think that's really important. So when young women, when you first started out, tell me what a day would look like for you. What did you, tell me, share with us how that looked and some of the challenges that you had as a young deputy just starting out, and maybe some things that were a surprise to you.
Yes, when I first started out, women on our department all had the same first assignment. It was the women's jail. Women weren't working in the men's jails at the time. Myself and 3 other women were given that opportunity after about a year on the job. So the women's jail was, I really liked the booking aspect of the jail. That was where the most activity was. The officers in the field would bring in all of their prisoners and we would process those folks, and the day would go really fast and it'd be busy, and we'd work night shift or day shift. And then I got the assignment to the men's jail, and that was not a booking facility. So the day was spent the care and, all of the things, the responsibilities of taking care of the men prisoners and making sure they got to court and all of the different things you do there. And then I got the phone call that I was going to patrol, and I went to Fallbrook Patrol. And honestly, that was probably the funnest time that laid a huge foundation for me on the department. You're your own boss. You get a patrol car and you drive around and do all the enforcement stuff that you need to do, and calls for service. You have the opportunity to help citizens and protect the public, which was fun. After about 3 years in patrol, I was married. My husband and I decided to have a child, and that was probably a very challenging time because as a pregnant deputy, I worked at the desk, and then once I had our son, trying to juggle. He worked night shift, I worked day shift, and trying to juggle who was going to watch the baby and all those things. It was challenging, but it was rewarding at the same time, and my son turned out great. So.
And how old is he?
He's 30.
Aw, 30.
Yeah.
Nice. So you have grandkids or no?
No, not yet.
No, not yet. Okay. Well, I think everyone is probably having children a little bit later in life now. I think, when my mom was 19 and she had her first.
Oh, yeah.
I was 29 when I had my first. So,
yeah.
I think as we go on, we try to figure it out. And, being, so you're both in law enforcement. Actually, I didn't know that, so I learned something new. How did that look? That probably was very challenging at times, just kind of looking at the family unit and seeing how that is a little different than some families. Do you have family that lives close that was able to help you out, or just? Yeah,
raising him was a little bit of a juggling. Now, my dad, again, played a key role. He and my mom lived very close, and I was working narcotics, I remember, and I would get a call out at 3 a.m, and my son was very used to being bundled up and taken to my parents' house and left to sleep. And he'd wake up, and my dad would make him breakfast and get him off to where he needed to be. And it was a great partnership raising him with my parents. My husband working, you work opposite shifts, but you definitely understand each other's, the stress that you're both going under. You're there for each other. You have someone who truly understands what you're doing, which is really helpful in any relationship, regardless of what your occupation. So, it worked out well that way. So
nice. So when you were a captain, where were you at? Where were you stationed?
Yes, I was at Alpine in the Rural Command. So I was responsible for about 2,400 square miles of the county, and then the community of Alpine, which was terrific. I don't know how many of the listeners know that we have 18 tribal reservations in the county of San Diego, and many of them are under that command. So I also had the Valley Center Command as a lieutenant. So we had 5 reservations out in Valley Center. So.
Well, that's a big territory. I bet there was a lot going on.
There is, but it's not it's not very densely populated. It's communities like Borrego and Julian and Palomar and things like that. So it's beautiful country out there, and the backcountry of San Diego is a terrific place to live and work. So it was an enjoyable year.
So I feel like your journey chose you with your dad being in law enforcement, but was there anything else besides just that one encounter where someone said to you, hey, what about law enforcement, that really led you to think, well, maybe that is for me? Did you go on like a ride along or anything like that really kind of said, hey, this feels right. This feels good to me?
Yeah, kind of. I actually was dating a San Diego police officer when I was waitressing. I was 21, I guess. And he was the one who recommended, he didn't think waitressing was a very good career path. So he recommended something a little more stable and sounded great. I'd always admired my dad. I went on a ride along with my dad. I can't remember if it was pre-hire or once I was in the academy or had just been hired, but it was impactful. He was he was the original community-oriented police officer. He knew all the little old ladies on the beat, and he made sure everybody was safe. And, people would call him when they needed something. And he delivered a couple of babies. I mean, he really kind of epitomized what you want to see in a police officer. So,
have you delivered any babies?
I haven't.
I think it's pretty rare. I didn't know that. Wow, that's your dad actually delivered a couple?
Yeah.
More than one? Wow.
Yeah, back in the day that I think people maybe waited a little longer, didn't have as much prenatal care, but he also drove an ambulance. San Diego PD used to have officers drive ambulances. They were dual EMTs and patrol officers. So.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That's incredible. Wow. Okay, well, so when you think about how you got to where you are, did you ever see yourself doing that? Did you ever think, I'm going to be the undersheriff one day?
No, not at all. Even as recent as last year, I didn't. I've just always enjoyed this job, and I've always been so devoted to our department and happy to help and happy I've still got relevance and value. And I really admire the work that law enforcement does. We've risen to a lot of challenges over the years, and just really proud of that and proud to still be part of it and still be relevant.
So what's next for you? Are there any things that you're working on that you want to bring forward to affect any change? Or, can you share with us what the future holds for you, Undersheriff?
Yeah, so we have a lot of projects that were started before I took this role, and we're working with the Board of Supervisors right now on budgets, and we're looking at some changes in our jail medical and mental health care. So we have a lot of projects that way. My long-term vision is that we expand some of our operations in North County and build another station up there to accommodate some of the needs of the citizens up there in the new development. We're building an EBOC course for to train in our pursuit training and things like that. That's down in Otay. That's going to open at the end of the year, which is going to be really fun to have a dedicated space. We always used Qualcomm's parking lot, which wasn't conducive to that. So just a lot of great projects moving forward. So I'm excited to see all of those unfold and shepherd them through. So.
Yeah, I don't think the parking lot's there anymore, is it? I saw that they had taken it down. I look at it and I go, oh my gosh, I still see that as Jack Murphy.
Right, I almost said that as I was saying Qualcomm. I had to remember.
I have a hard time calling it that too. I'm like, it's a Jack. Qualcomm. Yeah, I'm the same. So when you think about young women that are listening today, what is some advice that you would give them in their journeys in anything? Just some takeaways from the conversation with you?
I would say believe in yourself and don't limit yourself. A lot of times we don't understand all of the possibilities that are available to us. And, sometimes that's just because the people around us don't really understand them. So get out and meet more people and explore opportunities and don't be afraid to try things. Don't let barriers get in your way. I think sometimes we create our own barriers and we don't understand that a little hard work or maybe, getting into another headspace will help us move through those. So.
Well, and don't you think a barrier too is also fear? Because fear of the unknown, fear of, can I really do it? I think, a lot of us, and, I talk to a lot of people, and that always seems to me something that really is a governing kind of thing that happens with a lot of people is they let fear get in their way and they say, well, I'm not going to try that because I don't feel like I could actually do that or achieve that. And I think, I always tell young people when I speak to them, try something new. Try something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. Nothing that's, unsafe, but something that really pushes you and, really helps you grow. Because I think from all of the experiences that we and challenges that we have in life, and I think COVID has really, even highlighted that fact that we need to try things and innovate out of things and, come up with new ideas and, ways that are more efficient, but sometimes even more challenging for us because those experiences do help us grow. Don't you agree?
I do. And I think you epitomize that. I think you're always trying new things. And, I think you can try new things in smart ways that aren't going to, there's risk to everything, but I think certainly challenges are in front of us every day, but we don't learn or grow if we're not accepting some of those challenges. So,
well, thank you. Thank you, Undersheriff Kelly Martinez from San Diego County Sheriff's. I just am so proud of you. You're the first woman to ever serve in that role. And now you've led the path and the way and for every other woman that wants to achieve that. And I do believe that we will have a sheriff that is a woman at some point in time. Maybe you'll do that, but then that brings you into politics, which not too many people want to do that. So maybe not for you, but maybe. Anyway, I really appreciate your sharing your journey with us, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better. And we will see you out there keeping our community safe. And I would definitely argue that the Sheriff's Department, a lot of people say, why don't cities open their own police departments? And I tell them, for all of the services that you don't have to pay for all the time, you only pay for them on an as-needed basis. The value for the San Diego Sheriff's Department is very good. And we really have a lot of services that we don't have to pay for when we don't need them. So with that being said, thank you very much for keeping our county safe. We sure appreciate everything you do every day. And the fact that you really care about people and your authenticity is very much appreciated.
Thank you. Terrific. I appreciate being here.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learn how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host, Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.